Okay, hey everybody. Once again, sorry about the delay in getting this video out. Um, I don't believe it's going to be a super long video, uh, so we'll just see. I'll try not to be blabbing. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do, we're going to move into three-dimensional solids, and we talked about them a little bit. We talked about the prisms and pyramids and how you name them. You name them by their base. The base is identified by standing it up. For example, that's standing up, that's laying down, and that's standing up, and that's laying down. So you wouldn't look at this base down here and call this a triangular something. The base is a rectangle, so that's a rectangular pyramid, all right? Okay, so anyways, that was kind of from last week. Now today what we're going to talk about is how do we start drawing the three-dimensional shapes and then drawing their nets so that we can then move on to finding the surface area and the volume of these shapes and that sort of thing. So I have a couple of things already drawn there, and I'm going to walk you through the steps because it takes a little bit of practice to get good at this. Some of you are going to be naturally better at it because you're just able to see the shapes. Others are really going to struggle and have a very difficult time drawing this. They just, for whatever reason, cannot see how these shapes are making a three-dimensional shape. If you find yourself in that category, that group of people, I will tell you, drawing on graph paper helps. So if you have a real difficult time drawing these shapes and so they look three-dimensional, I would suggest that you try graph paper and then use the lattice lines to help you draw the shapes. Okay, so real quickly, how you the best way to draw prisms is to draw the base of your prism twice. And the reason we draw it twice is because that's what makes something a prism, is it has two bases. The reason something is a pyramid is it only has one base. So these have two. So if I'm going to do a rectangular prism like I have there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with drawing my rectangle, whatever the rectangle might look like. Okay, so there's one rectangle. And then I'm going to draw my second rectangle. And the second rectangle I draw, the way I do it is always up and to the right. It doesn't have to be up and to the right. It could be down and to the right. It could be down and to the left or up and to the left. But I usually tend to start with my paper on the left-hand side. And so I have more room going to the right. So I'm going to draw roughly the same size shape as my first base. Okay, so now that's what it looks like. I've got one base here and a second base there. And then all I have to do is connect my corners to my corners. So this corner to here, so this corner to that corresponding corner, this one corresponds there, and that one corresponds there. And as soon as you draw those extra lines in, you can really see how the shape becomes three-dimensional. It looks like it's either going back into the paper or maybe it's coming out onto the paper. It just depends on how you look at it. Okay, so that was a rectangular pyramid, or prism. So what if I was going to do a triangular prism? So, okay, no big deal. I'm going to draw my shape to begin with, the base, right? I always start with the base. So here's a triangle. And now to do my second triangle, I'm going to draw roughly the same size shapes. Looks like it's 1, 2, 3 high and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide. So I go up and to the right again. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's 3 high. So, okay, so there's my two shapes. This one I had them overlapping a little bit. You don't have to. You could always draw them. They're just going to look longer if you do that. The triangles I almost never have overlapping just because they look kind of weird when they do. So then I just connect my corresponding points. So that point corresponds. This one corresponds with that one there. And that one corresponds with that one there. Okay? So that's really it. Like if you're going to draw a prism, what you want to do is you just want to draw the base twice because you always have two bases with prisms and then connect the corresponding sides. So if I was going to do a pentagon, there's my pentagon. Okay, and then I draw another pentagon over here. And then I'm going to connect my sides. So that one goes to that one goes there, that one goes there, the tops, and then of course that one. And these are all called glass prisms because it looks like they're clear because you can see inside of them. If you don't want them to be clear, what you can do is you can actually just erase some of the lines. So maybe I erase this line right here. Okay. And now it looks like I'm looking kind of down on top of it, and I can see the front side and then the two sides. It doesn't really matter. I don't care that much about that. If you want to leave this space, the line in there, that's fine too. Doesn't matter to me. Okay, now looking at pyramids, right? So for pyramids, it's pretty similar, except that I only have one base. So instead of drawing two bases, I'm only going to draw one base. So if I'm doing this one, I'm going to start with my base, which looks like a rectangle, so quadrilateral. And then to do this one, you're just going to put a dot somewhere out in space. Okay, it doesn't really matter where you put it. It's a little bit tricky. Sometimes the dot can make it hard to draw your lines. But then you connect that point to each of your corners of your base. And then when you do that, it makes a pyramid. Okay, so that's it. Like if I'm going to do a cone, I start with my base. I put a point out here and I connect that point to that one, and there's my cone. If I'm going to do a triangular base, those are a little bit, or excuse me, triangular pyramid, those are easy to draw but hard to see. For me, they're hard to see once they're drawn. So there's my base. Okay, so now here I'm going to put my point, and I connect that point to that point and to that point. For me, this is the hardest one for me to see. Like the pyramid of it, it's much easier for me to see these two than this one here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to color in this so that looks like the base, and that might make it look a little bit easier for you guys to see. I don't know if this helped or not, but a lot of times those kind of look like kites. So I don't know if that helps. But anyways, that's how you draw them. You draw the base, and then I put a point out in space, and then connect all the edges to that. Okay. So I'm going to have you guys practice drawing a few of these tonight, and you should draw them constantly. Whenever I am asking you guys to find the area, the surface area, or the volume, or whatever I'm asking you to do, draw them. Because the more you can draw them, the better you will be at drawing them, and the easier it is for you to have your students learn to draw them. Okay, so that's just drawing the three-dimensional shapes. Now we're going to take a look at what's called a net. Okay, so I have here a cube, and a cube is a type of prism, and what's special about this type of prism is that all of the sides are the same length. Okay, all the sides are the same length, so all the sides are exactly the same, the dimensions are the same, so it makes a perfect square that then turns into a perfect cube. Okay, so what I've done here is I've done some color coding. So the top is the red T, and I've made this red right here. That's the top. Okay, so that goes with this side. This green in front is the F. Okay, the green in front is the F. So that's the front. I'm not sure what color green that was. So that's the F there. Okay, then the bottom, which is this red one, is under, right? So that's the top, and I had to put under. I'll tell you why I can't do B. So I put U for under. And then that limeish looking green one in the back there, that's the back, and that's why I couldn't do B for bottom. So this over here, it's kind of hard, is the back. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's the back. And then over here I have the right side, that's this darker blue, and on this side I have the left side. So I've got the right side here, and then I've got the left side there. So the color coding hopefully is going to help when we unfold it and draw the net. So that's what we're going to do. When we say that we're going to be drawing a net, basically what I'm doing is I'm unwrapping this as if it were a box wrapped in paper. So I'm going to unfold each of the sides and lay it flat into a two-dimensional shape. And once it's in a two-dimensional shape, it's a lot easier to see the area of each of those sides, okay? So I'm just going to kind of move that up there so that we can draw down here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my, well, for this one, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to draw one of my shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the underside, right? So I'm going to draw the underside there. So that's going to look like a rectangle. Okay, and that is right there. Okay, so the bottom, that's this one. Actually, it doesn't look like the wrong color red. Let me get a better red here. So this is the underside right here. Okay, so that's the underside. Now, when I go to draw these, what I really look at are the color codings, right? So if I look at the front here, I see that the front is green and it's connected to that pink line, which would be right there. So that green side, if it fell down like this, it would be right here. If it fell towards us. Okay, so that's the front. And then if I look at the lime green, okay, that one right there, this lime green in the back, that would be the back that would fall that way. So that's the lime green one that's in the back. Okay. So now if I look at this left side right here, right? If that left side, that would be connected to the base or the, the underside on that pink one there. So that would fall down to the left like this. Okay. And then that leaves me with the top and the right. Okay, so if I'm saying that this pink one is right here, well, the top one, the top red, is not even touching the bottom reddish pinkish one, right? So they're not even touching. What's in between them is the blue. So that means that the right side that's darker blue is actually touching the underside. And then the top is actually touching that blue one there. So this is actually going to be the top here. So that's the top, and then this is the right side, okay? And this is called the net, right? So this is what the net would look like if you were to take this and unwrap it or unfold it. This is what it would look like. There are some other ways you could unfold it. It's possible that you might have had the front one over here. There's a couple other ways you can do it, but basically what you're always going to have a row of 4 in the middle, and then one of your bases on top and the other base on the bottom. It's pretty much what you're going to do. And that's what I kind of think of whenever I'm doing these. Okay, so now I'm going to do this one, which we would call a triangular prism. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is draw my front and my three-dimensional shape. Okay, so there's my front base. And then here's my back base. And then I'm going to connect each of these sides here. And what color is that going to be? I'll go with purple in the back here. Okay. Actually, I'm going to change this not to blue. I'm going to change that one to lime green. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is it's going to look very similar to this. The difference is these aren't going to be rectangles. They're going to be triangles. So I'm always going to have this row in the middle of rectangles. If you look at this triangle right here, if you look at that, this shape right here is a rectangle. That shape right there is a rectangle. That shape right there is a rectangle. So if I unlatch these and laid these down, I would have 3 rectangles right in a row, and then this triangle would flop that way, and this triangle would flop that way. So that's basically what I'm going to do. It basically looks like this, right? So I'm going to take this triangle and lay it like that. I'm going to lay this prism, one triangle will be here, one triangle will be there, and then a row in the middle. All right. So if I take that red one and I drew that red one going straight down like this, Okay, so there's that red one. And then if I had this green one, it would be on the opposite side, and it's going to be going like this. Okay, so there's that green one is there, and that red one's there. Okay, now I see that I have a lime green that is connecting these 2 points together, right? So I have a lime green that's going to go from here to here. Okay, so there's that. Whoops, not that, sorry. Lime green goes like that. And then I see I have a blue one that is also connecting. Actually, lime green goes from there to there. That purple one would be right here. Okay, so now this one is, I'm going to shade this in. I will shade this in lime green, I think. So that shape right there is this rectangle on the base. Okay, so that right there is this rectangle. Then you see that I'm going to have this shape on the back, this right here. That's also going to be a rectangle, but it's connected to the purple one. So if I cut that blue strip and laid it flat, it would go out like this. So that is the red one there that I just did. Okay. And the third triangle that I have is actually on this side. It's like as if it's open because we actually can see inside of this triangle. And so that would go from the blue here. So that's going to go like this. And I'm not going to color that one in because it's the one that we can see through. It's the glass one we can see through. So there's my net. So what you might notice here is that for this prism, I have a base and a base on top and a base on the bottom. And then I have a bunch of rectangles down the middle. For this rectangular prism, I have a base and a base on top and then a bunch of rectangles. If you were going to do this one, right? You're going to do this one. Well, the difference here is you're going to have a base on top and a base on the bottom, just like this. Instead of being triangles, they're going to be hexagons. But then the shapes that are in the middle are these rectangles. And the question is, how many of these rectangles will I have? Well, I have a 6-sided shape, and each side makes each side of my base, it has a side of my 3D shape. And so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I will have 6 rectangles down the middle with a hexagon and a hexagon. Doesn't matter how you draw it. I'm going to draw this one actually without any color coding. Shoot, I should do it like this. Okay, there's the top shape. And here is the bottom or the base. And there's my rectangle. There's one, and I'm going to have 2 more. Doesn't matter where I put these other 2. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need 1 more, and 6. So I have 6 rectangles, a base, and a base. And that's the way all prisms are, is that you have however many sides you have of your base, that's how many rectangles you have. For a triangular prism, I had 3. For a rectangular prism, I had 4. For a hexagon, I had 6. So that makes sense. Octagon, I would have 8 of these. Octagon here, and 8 of them. Okay? All right, so now let's take a look at the pyramids, the nets for the pyramids. So we're still drawing nets. These are going to be pyramids. Okay, so let's start with a rectangular pyramid. All right. So I'm going to first draw the 3D shape. So here's my 3D shape for my rectangular pyramid. Okay. And then I put my point pretty much anywhere that I want, and then I connect each one of those. And I'll go ahead and just say that this is a square. I'll just make it a little bit easier. Okay, so this is a square rectangular pyramid, so all of those are the same length. Okay, so that is this one right here. Okay, that is this pyramid. There's my base, and then each of those is my sides, and all these triangles are the same. So if I took this and I cut lines on here and I laid it out flat, what I would end up with is my base right in the middle. And that base is a square. And then I would have one triangle on this side. There's the exact same size as the other ones. Like that. And there we go. So that's what the pyramid would look like if it was laid out flat in a net. Okay, now let's take a look at this one. This one is a triangular pyramid. So there's the base, it's a triangle, and it looks like it's an equilateral triangle. And then if I stand it up, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my base. This time my base is let me go ahead and try and draw this as best I can. These are really hard for me to draw. They always seem to look like kites. I don't know. Oh, it's not too bad. Okay. All right. There we go. It's not too bad. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my base. My base on this one's an equilateral triangle. And now, off of each one of those sides is going to be another triangle. And this triangle, I'm going to make it clearly not the same as the red one. All right, so that is clearly different than the red one. But that's what it looks like. So what your pyramids always look like is you always have your base right in the middle, and then the sides are always triangles. Even when I had a rectangular base, I still made triangles. And the reason that is because when you go from this base to a point, it's going to make a triangle every single time. It makes a triangle. So that's why when we go from any base that we have up, it's going to be a triangle. And it's not always the same lengths here, right? So I'm going to show you one more that clearly shows that we can have different lengths. So let me do another rectangular pyramid, but this time it's going to look like this. Okay, so clearly this one is not a square. And then I put my point there, and I'll make these ones be purple. Okay. Okay, so there we go. So that is my pyramid. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw the kite for it. So I'm going to start with my base. Okay, so here's my base right in the middle. And again, it's pretty much the same size as it started with. There's my base. And now each of these that comes off is going to be a different triangle, because this line here is going to have to be long to get there. So it's going to look like this then. I'm going to have a long triangle there and a long triangle here. And then, in order for these to be the same, this front triangle and the back triangle are going to be the same. So they're going to be a little bit different. shape than the purple ones at the end. Okay, something like that. So here, these two are the same. The red ones are the same. And the purple ones are the same. Triangles. Okay. And up here, all the greens were all the same. That's why I made them all green. All right. Okay, so those are the pyramids and how you draw the nets for the pyramids. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to have you guys do a few drawings of nets for pyramids and prisms just so you can practice them. And then I'm going to have you guys find some surface area for these, because if you look at it, once you got it laid out flat like this looks like an irregular shape. So if this is an irregular shape, then all you got to be able to do is find the area of a rectangle and then the area of triangles. Area of a triangle and then the area of those triangles. Area of that rectangle and then the area of each of those rectangles. Then add everything together. So once again, that area of irregular shapes that we did a few weeks back is coming back to help us when we're trying to find these surface area equations. It's still our basic equations of base times height, and then and half base times height for triangles, and then we just add everything together. So I have to add the area of this to the area of this, the area of this, the area of that. Find the area of that, gives me the total area that I need to cover that. Okay? So what I'm going to do is when I post the homework, I'm actually going to post probably one solution to a problem, and then do the best you can on it. Again, I'm never worried if you get it right or wrong. Just do what you think is best, and then we will go over it again on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever day. I don't know what day. Okay, that's it. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you guys soon.